Welcome to the LC Parent Podcast, where we get real about the struggles, victories, and laughs we share as parents.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening. We're so excited to be back for another episode. I'm super pumped, you guys, because one of my very favorite things, one of our favorite episodes was an episode we did months ago, maybe even a year ago, where we had a mom and a son, and then also that same mom and her daughter. And there was just so much dynamic to their relationship and kind of the parenting best practices that came out of that. And actually just the fun we had on the show was so great. So today, we're doing it again. So I have a couple of great guests I'm going to introduce to you here in just a second. But I want to say, first of all, thank you so much to those of you who are listening. Gosh, you're forwarding this on and sharing it with your friends here at Life.Church, as well as friends outside of our church. And we're just so thankful for that. We recognize that as parents, there's no book written for any one of us with our personal dynamic, with our spiritual history, with our, who's coming around us to help us raise our kids. It's all unique and it's all really different. And so what this podcast has done for so many of us is give us an opportunity to hear lots of different perspectives from a bunch of different guests. And so we're just excited again to have the husband of one of our previous guests. You guys remember Delise Clausen. She was here a few episodes ago. I never know what order we're going to be in, but we're back with her husband, David, and her daughter, Riley. Thank you guys for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad to be here.
I love the dad-daughter dynamic specifically. I just think that there is gold in what it is that, as a female, the things that my father instilled in me over the years, and my grandfather, and even my great-grandfather. And really what we're talking about is impacting our legacies. So, David, I want you to introduce yourself here in just a second, but that's kind of unintentional. But really, this is about setting an example founded in your faith, impacting the emerging generation, and then believing and trusting kind of the ripple effect of what Jesus will do through the generations. And so, first of all, introduce yourself to us. We want to hear all about you.
You bet. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Allie. My wife, Delise, and I, we've lived in Oklahoma our whole lives, and we've been married 28 years now.
Awesome.
Been going to Life.Church for 22 of those years, and we have 4 kids, 3 boys and 1 daughter. Garrett and Tyler, our 2 oldest, are married. We have wonderful daughters-in-laws, Jenna and Shaylin, and then we have Riley in college, and then our youngest, Cole, he's a senior in high school.
Love your kids.
Oh,
all of them.
I love them too.
I bet you do.
But I worked here in Oklahoma City in the area of my whole career here in the corporate communications area.
That's awesome. Well, good. Thank you for sharing that. Riley, tell us about you.
I'm 20 years old. I'm a full-time photographer and currently a sophomore in college.
Awesome. So you full-time photography?
Yes.
On top of full-time
school. Yep.
Wow, you're not playing around.
No.
You're going for it. So we'll probably get to some things about instilling a good work ethic in you from your parents, as well as some of the other things that we plan on talking about. But, David, I've met the kids, Riley and Cole, for sure, we served in Connect together. And y'all were middle school and high school,
yeah.
wasn't? Cole was
in middle school, I was high school.
Yeah, and the degree to which they led, how they led from this well of faith and work ethic, they were showing up. I mean, when adults weren't. There were weeks when I couldn't be there to serve with our Connect kids, which for those of you that are listening that don't know, Connect is our 1st through 3rd grade experience on the weekends and Life Kids, and we are a small group-based ministry. So it's a high commitment when someone comes alongside parents and serves for, it just seems like an hour each week, but actually it's really important that we're building this relationship, and Riley and Cole did that better than most adults that I know, including myself in some cases. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Are you still able to serve in
Yes.
Life Kids? Okay.
We both are.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And both of you guys were a part of Capacity as well. So Capacity is our leadership experience. It's a year-long experience that we have for some of our Switch students that are leading and inviting their friends to come to church and to Switch, and are serving in the ministries and are really passionate about their own discipleship, their growth, and learning how to share their faith and serve Jesus. And so you guys have been a part of that, and hopefully you'll be back as a leader at some point. That would be really exciting.
Of course.
So what I want to talk about with you guys is there's a couple of things I want to come out of really what Delise taught us about your family dynamic and how you all created an environment, and still do, create an environment in your home so that kids want to be at your house, right? So not just your own kids, but probably other kids. Your kids' friends want to come to your house. And Delise talked a little bit about that. So share with me a little bit from your perspective, what did you all do to make it so that, because usually when kids, particularly middle school, they start running for the hills. It's like, I'm going down the street to so-and-so's house. He's got better video games. Or, so-and-so's mom lets us wear makeup, so I'm going to run to her house so we can play with makeup, or, whatever the situation is. But you guys created this environment where your kids wanted to be at the house. So what did that look like? How did that happen from your perspective?
Well, I think early on, when Delise and I first had kids, we both agreed that prioritizing family is where we're going to build this around. And so when you prioritize family, that looks like a lot of different things. But for us, time was the key ingredient there. And so as the kids got older, of course, there are so many different activities and events and things that kids can do. It's unlimited. You could fill up every hour of every day with an activity. And we realized real quickly that we just have to really be intentional about prioritizing our family time. And so what that looked like for us was saying no to a lot of great things so we could say yes to family and saying yes to the time we spend together as a family.
That's great.
And we would be intentional about making sure that there was time on our calendars, on our schedule, where there was absolutely nothing planned except we're going to be home as a family.
Right.
And sometimes that looked like game night or movie night or backyard time, but a lot of times it looked like nothing. It was just time that we were going to be alone, unstructured, unplanned, and some of the best memories and traditions and activities and really relationship building things came out of that unstructuredness of it all. There's no script. There's no stress of having to plan or feel like you're going to put the perfect night together with your family. It's just being there and conversation and time, and it really builds from that.
Okay, you're saying something that I really want to key into, and that is, I know for myself, as a new believer and having two young kids years and years ago, that I remember hearing from someone here at church about these family night activity books. So I was like, oh my gosh, here's the key to success. You get one of these books and you do the activities in them. Well, those nights never went as planned, right? So I had the format, I had the ideas, here's everything. I went to the store and bought all the things for the activities, and the kids weren't interested in that. They'd rather play with the box that the thing came in, right? Or whatever. I love that you're telling us that the more unstructured many times, the better, because you could naturally let things emerge.
Yeah, it's just about keeping it simple and not feeling the pressure of having to have the perfect plan.
Right.
Simpleness and intentionality. And when the kids see that you are making it a priority to spend time with them in whatever fashion you spend it, the fact that they feel that they're the priority, that's the key ingredient.
Yes, that's so great. Now I'm going to ask you something that we didn't talk about. So 100%, I love the idea of prioritizing time. And Riley, I'm going to come to you in a second because I want to hear about some of those nights that are unstructured. Is he remembering it accurately? Was it really as amazing as he says? And what are some of the kinds of things that you found yourselves doing? So I'm going to come back to you. But talk to me about date night. Did you and Delise, how did you prioritize, or did you prioritize? Just be transparent. Our marriage comes first, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, you bet. So that is something we prioritized. Time alone, where Delise and I spend it together, and the kids are not part of that. And we tell them that. We're doing this on purpose because it's important that mom and dad spend time building our relationship, strengthening our relationship. And we're going to make sure that you have your time as well. But tonight it's our time, or today it's our time. And so, it looked like date nights sometimes. Sometimes it was very, not as formal as a date night.
Right. I love that.
I think part of it, too, when you get down to the level of relationship that Riley and I had, too, we would have our date nights from time to time. But also, it didn't have to look as fancy as a date night. It's just some of those simple routines where we would spend some time together intentionally alone to build our relationship between the father and daughter as well.
That's so great. That's, I know that there are a lot of single parents, single moms, single dads, a grandmother who's raising their kids that are listening. And, I want to make sure that for those of you who are in that situation, that you prioritize yourself. Self-care, I know, is such a buzzword right now. But the truth is, if you're raising a kid or two and you're on your own doing that, it's okay that you let them know, I'm going to take an evening to spend time in God's Word, to pay the bills, to get a workout in, or whatever that looks like. Because as we're taking care of ourselves, and or our marriages, we can be better parents. I think a lot of times, whether you're married or not, whatever your family dynamic is, it's easy to put yourself in the back seat. And somehow you know something's missing in your parenting and you don't know what it is. And it's probably that you're not investing in your own personal growth and in your relationship with your spouse potentially. Okay, Riley.
Yes.
Back to you. So tell me about these family nights. What were those really like from a kid's perspective?
So when I was younger, I would actually sometimes get frustrated when they would say I couldn't go hang out at a friend's and that it was family night. But as I got older, I actually started craving those family nights. And
Cool.
I would call my mom and say, Mom, please say no when I ask you if I could go to my friend's house. I just want to be home tonight.
That's
I think it's really
awesome.
cool that I had that safe place and got to enjoy my time with my family in that way.
That is so funny. I wonder if every kid did that. Because I know my girls did. You know, it'd be
Yeah.
like, hey, so whenever I call you later, will you just say that?
Yes.
You know? It's like, okay, let me figure out how to do that without lying. But that's so funny. I love that. So you actually looked forward to those nights
Yes.
at home.
And I
Okay.
still do.
Oh, that's so great. So what does it look like now that most of you guys are older and we've got some people who are empty nesters that listen to the podcast. So what does that look like when you come home for a family night?
So sometimes it involves board games or a movie, but my personal favorite nights are when we're just sitting around talking and we start talking about our day and then it just goes off from there and we just get to catch up with each other because we're not always together all the time anymore.
Right.
So it's really cool just listening to how everyone's been doing and how everything's going.
That's so good. You know, over time, many parents will share with us that the key to that when your kids are 20 and 25, that they still want to have conversations with you, is that the conversation should have started when they were 2. And then it just sort of progresses, that you know the things that they're interested in. So what did that look like? I mean, you've got several kids. So what did that look like for you practically as a parent? How did you get to spend, you mentioned a date night with Riley, maybe not so formal, but did you or were you able to dedicate time to each one of the kids to know their interest and be in their lives?
Absolutely. So I think it's important that every parent knows what their kids' love languages are. And so for Riley, one of her top languages is quality time. And so I recognized that early on, that it's important for me to make her feel special by spending time with her. And sometimes that time was with her siblings, with her brothers and family, but a lot of times it's just she and I alone together. And
That's
that was
good.
probably the most meaningful of it all. And it doesn't have to be big daddy go out on a date night. It's as simple as some of our favorite times where I would just be running an errand and she'd come along in the car with me.
Yeah.
And she would love that, even to the point where if one of her brothers wanted to tag along, she'd get mad and say, no, this is my time with Dad. So, and those times, I mean, you look back on it, and we would come up with we came up with this silly song in the car one time that it's like if she sang it for you today, it'd be like crazy, nonsensical lyrics that you think she was insane. But that was our song, and we would sing it in the car, and it was goofy and silly, and for years we would do that. And it doesn't have to be this formal, special, planned thing. It's as simple as riding in a car and having a conversation.
That's
and
so
seeing
awesome.
where it goes.
That's so great. I've heard of parents having like secret handshakes with each of their kids, or different things. So just sort of, it sounds like whatever's authentic, whatever naturally springs out of you is the key.
Yeah.
But to try to formulate like, okay, the guy on the podcast said that we should have a silly song. So let's make, probably not going to work unless that just comes out of you, right?
Yeah.
So,
And it made me feel super special to know that he figured out my love language and that he was going out of his way and serving me and making me feel loved in that way.
I love that. Okay, so you actually are touching on something that I wanted to get to, and that is, okay, you're a young lady now, so you're at a point, you're in college where at some point you're probably going to get married. How did your relationship with your dad, or did it at all, shape, how you know what marriage should look like, and what it should look like? How should a man treat me? And then also, how did maybe your mom and your dad's relationship impact how you believe as a young lady, how I should behave in the context of a relationship, how you mentioned how he served you. I love that language. Tell me about that. How did that?
So growing up, I always just adored the way my dad would treat my mom. And I knew when I was older that I would want nothing less of that. So when I'm looking for my spouse, my future spouse, I know that that's what I want. And the values that my dad has and the way he treats my mom, I can know that's what I'm looking for. And if it's anything other than that, I know that's a red flag, and I don't want that.
Did you know overtly that, he had mentioned earlier about spending time just with your mom? Did they say out loud, like, okay, guys, for the next half hour or tonight, you guys can go to your friends. We're going to hang out together. We're going to just watch a movie, just us. Or did you know overtly they're prioritizing their relationship?
Yes.
That's really cool.
It was cool.
So they didn't try to make
Hide
up some crazy story.
Yeah, because they were setting an example for us, and they wanted us to know that this is what we're doing. And so they were showing us what we should be looking for in our future spouses.
That's awesome. That's incredible. And again, that kind of goes back to building a legacy. They're looking at your example. This is what it looks like to be in a good, healthy relationship. You've been married 28 years. I mean, that's all of our dreams as a parent, is that our kids will, they'll be married 50, 60 years, right? So tell me I'll start with you, Riley, on this one. Tell me about the value of Jesus, church, prioritizing your faith as it came to how you spent your time. And then also how you chose friends and some of those kinds of things.
Growing up, my parents were in a life group, and then they started leading a life group. And they just always encouraged us to serve in the church, and we loved it. And that was our favorite part of the week, was going to church, and they would always make sure we had a ride to church. And it was super fun to get to do that.
Yeah. And you and your brothers are close. I mean, at least I know you and Cole are, for sure.
Yeah, we're best friends.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode. We're definitely going to do some sibling kinds of dynamic kinds of podcasts for sure. And I need to have you and Cole on. That would be really fun. Yeah.
You'd have to extend it to an hour to get the two of them on here.
That's true. That's true. So, David, then how intentional were you guys about setting an example, about attending church and prioritizing your relationship with Christ?
As intentional as possible as it can be. What I mean is, it was a non-negotiable. I mean, that's just what our family does.
Right.
We prioritize Jesus, prioritize church, prioritize serving, we prioritize getting involved. And that's who we are as a family. Mm-hmm. So it's not a question of are we going to do it or not.
Sure.
We've already answered that question. And we're just demonstrating to the kids how to do it, helping them, supporting them. But I'll tell you, the kids have surpassed my expectations in terms of serving. I mean, I wanted them to serve, but I didn't realize until I saw in action how much they loved it, how much they got into it, and how the leaders they become as people who serve. And I mean, there's some weekends where Cole would have a soccer game, Riley would have this, and they'd say, "Sorry, I'm scheduled to serve."
Wow.
And I was like, wow, yeah. I don't know that I would have done that
when
I was 17.
Yeah.
And but they prioritized it and made it the thing. And boy, it sure shows. I just love seeing them in action doing that.
So what I'm hearing you say is part of it was human intention. We're consistent. We go to church. It was a non-negotiable. It's just what we do. And then part of it was the Holy Spirit working through them. They aren't you, right? They're not going to have the same tendencies as you. Their passions are going to be different. And so you allowed that to emerge. Because here's the truth. What some parents can do over time, unintentionally, is say, no, we've paid for soccer. Right. And listen, if you're listening, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm sure I did this at some point in my parenting. We paid for soccer, so you're not going to go serve this time. You're going to go to the soccer game. Or we've paid for that tournament or what have you. And I'm not suggesting that's bad, but what you all allowed to happen is, you know what, the Holy Spirit's working here, and we're not going to get in the way of that, no matter what we've paid for. Now, and I also know something about your family, too, is that you don't shirk commitment. So the kids didn't learn, well, I signed up for soccer, and I committed to that, and my team is counting on me, but I can blow it off based on church. There's still this high level of commitment, and they were very committed to the things that they signed up for. That I just know. So somehow then, as parents, you help them figure out what that looks like, to be true to both commitments.
Be true and let them make that decision. You know, they were old enough to be able to prioritize things themselves.
Yes.
We set standards and expectations and try to guide them, but then they reach an age where they can make those decisions on their own, and we have full confidence they're going to make what's the decision that's right for them and those around them.
Yeah.
Right.
They would do it in a way that wasn't demanding, like, you have to go to church, you need to go serve. They did it in a way that made us want to go to serve and want to go to church.
That's so great. Really. David, was there ever a time I don't know, generally this happens in the context of Life Kids, when your kids are in those younger age groups and maybe they've got separation anxiety, 2, 3, 4 years old, and they just dig their heels in. I don't want to go in. Don't make me go. Did you ever have that experience? Did they ever have a Sunday where they said, we don't want to go?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
What? Okay, Riley, you tell.
Am I blocking that out?
I wish you guys could see this.
Yes. When I was little, I would cry and scream because I didn't want to leave my parents. I didn't want to go to the room.
Oh, I did block that out. Yeah, that was hard on me.
So, okay, I really want to unpack this because truthfully, on our parents' Facebook group, this comes up frequently where a parent will say, it breaks my heart, my kid doesn't want to go to Life Kids. But what I'm hearing you say, it wasn't necessarily that you didn't want to go to Life Kids, it was you didn't want to leave your parents.
Right.
And then how did that unfold? Did they usher you in and have you go? Did they sometimes allow you to go to big church? Like, how did that actually play out? Do you remember?
They would usually just talk it out with me, calm me down, and then they would bring me into the room. And once I was in the room, I was fine. And I had so much fun in there because I loved the rooms.
Right.
But it's just the separating for that 10 seconds was rough sometimes.
Right. I'm hearing there are a couple of words that are just coming up over and over: intentionality and consistency. Mm-hmm. So even with the crying and I don't want to go, I don't want to leave you guys, I can hear too sweet little Riley going, I love you guys so much. Don't make me leave you for an hour. But consistently, it was I love you too. But this is what we do. Right. Mm-hmm. And I love to hear that.
Because if you see the bigger picture, that, a lot of parents would, a lot of times it's very tempting. If the child doesn't want to go into the room, it's very tempting to say, okay, I'm not going to fight that battle today. We're going to go home. We're going to do something different. But maybe it's best for that child that mom and dad are in the service in the next hour.
Amen.
Maybe that's we look at it in the big picture, maybe that's ultimately what's best.
Right.
So if you think about things beyond maybe the immediate crisis in front of you,
right.
It's hard. It's hard to do that. But it helps you make those decisions in a little bit broader sense.
That's so good. Now, our time is winding down. It's always way too fast for me. But I want to talk about, Riley touched on how she observed you and Delise and how you treat each other. And then also she has taken note on how she deserves to be treated by a future spouse. So tell me from your perspective as a dad, what have you done intentionally to instill value in Riley? How did you demonstrate that to her?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is what she said about modeling behavior. So being very purposeful about how she sees me live and act and treat others, treat Delise and treat her brothers, and set the expectation with her brothers of how they treat her, because she deserves to be treated at a high level, and so she needs to know when she's looking for a boyfriend, a future spouse, that's the level that she deserves. I think part of also instilling value in her is routine and things that help build her confidence. And Riley, I mentioned quality time earlier. One of the things that we established early on was this routine that when I put her to bed at night. This started when she was like 2 or 3 years old. I put her to bed at night and give her a kiss, and we go through the whole routine. And then she said one night, tomorrow morning when you go to work, will you give me a kiss on your way out the door? I said, of course. I did that, and as I'm getting in my car and backing out of the driveway, I look at the window. She's standing there in a little nightgown with her blanket. Aww. And she's blowing me a kiss. Aww. And that day, a tradition was born. Oh, my goodness. And so every day when I'd walk back out of the driveway, she would be there at the window blowing me a kiss.
Oh,
even to the point where she became a teenager. We moved to a new house, and her bedroom in the new house was on the side and didn't have a window facing the driveway. And I thought, well, she's a teenager, windows in a different spot. This routine has had its time. It's going to go. Well, that first morning, I'm backing out of the driveway, and she comes down, little teenage Riley with her blanket and her nightgown. She's standing at the front window of the house, and she's blowing me a kiss. And I'm telling you, Allie, every morning until the day she went to college, she blew me a kiss on the way out to work. And that was our thing. And that bond, just create a simple thing. Again, this isn't about complexity. It's about simple things that happen naturally. Mm-hmm. That was our deal. And
it was special because it was just me and him. It was just us, our thing.
Yeah. He didn't do that with the boys.
Yeah.
That was just your...
It made me feel special and loved.
I love that. It just, again, makes me teary. Gosh, guys, thank you so much for being with us. When I think, Riley, about all the things that your dad has said today about intentionality and consistency and setting an example. I get excited about your future. I mean, you're already this amazing young woman. You're very confident. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have insecurities. You probably do. I don't know.
Right.
But you're confident. And I'm going to imagine that you probably haven't dated someone that treated you in a way that you didn't deserve, right? You're probably very, very selective in that. And again, it kind of takes me back to this legacy building that, gosh, you can be confident as a dad, David, that you've instilled these things in her that are going to really lead the emerging generation. And then you're going to choose a man who treats you the way your dad. I mean, I just love that. It's kind of like this big circle. So there's 2 or 3 things that I want to reemphasize. Again, intentionality, consistency are the big ones. But the other thing that I love that you said is things don't have to be rocket science. Spending time together. Again, the blowing a kiss at the window, you allowed that to happen. What I've heard you and Delise say, David, is that you had ears to hear and eyes to see what your kids were trying to show you. And I think that, admittedly, I can probably admit this for myself. Life is busy. We're running to our job. We're running to our activities. We're carting kids around. And sometimes it's all about just getting from point A to point B. But what you guys did so well is you had your head lifted and your eyes open to see what it is that God was showing you through your kids. Oh, it makes me teary. I have to edit this. And because you were attentive and you had eyes to see, then you were able to respond to each individual child by understanding their love languages, knowing what they're passionate about and what excites them, allowing the Holy Spirit to work in them and how they serve. So I love that. So intentionality, consistency. None of this has to be rocket science. Any last thoughts that you have for us?
Well, I just think that stepping back when you can and looking at the bigger picture, like you said, this is a legacy activity. We are extending and building our family tree, and so it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day. There's a crisis every day in every family, and it's so easy to focus your time on that. And sometimes you need to do that. But when you can pause and step back and say, "What are we trying to do here from a big picture?" and spend some time with your spouse and talk about those things and be intentional about planning the big picture.
Right.
Life's going to happen regardless of whether you plan it or not.
Right.
So if you can be intentional about planning and creating and shaping what you want that to look like, the more time you can spend on that, the better off.
Right. Oh, that's so good. We often say that we should start with the end in mind. What do we want, big picture? And what I'm hearing you say is that what you guys want is kids who love and serve the Lord and build a family around that foundation.
Yeah.
So,
Delise and I spent a lot of time together just literally writing down the goals for our family and what we want a family to look like. And we would revisit those over time. And to me, when you have it written down and when you spend the conversation shaping those goals, not assuming what the other one thinks or doesn't, and really putting them down and being specific about it, that's a level of intentionality that you're not going to get otherwise.
That's so good. So good. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
I love the fact that you guys have been a part of community. You've been a part of what we call at Life.Church a life group. And you guys, the kids, you've been a part of serving, and you're a part of your own life groups. And we really value, if you don't hear us say anything else on the podcast, you know that we value you being in biblical community. None of us are meant to do this parenting thing alone. So find yourself a group. And listen, we look forward to seeing you this week at church.
Thank you, Allie. It's been great.